Here is an updated video following on from my last one about my collection of Second World War armour piercing anti-tank rounds. You've already seen my 2-pounder, which I videoed last time, and then of course there's the 75mm, which I showed last time, and then on to the mighty 17-pounder. Which you saw last time. But guess what? I now have a 6-pounder to complete the collection. So now we go from early part of the war, 1941. The 6-pounder came out in about 1943, then the 75mm. Although the penetration of the 75mm wasn't as good as the 6-pounder, it did contain more explosive in their high explosive rounds. So the British Army felt that the 75mm was a better overall weapon. The 6-pounder was retained because of obviously its armour piercing capabilities, but of course obviously the 17-pounder eclipsed both of them. But in terms of high explosive round, they still favoured the 75mm, but for armour piercing you couldn't really beat the 17-pounder or the 6-pounder. So now that is my collection complete of British Second World War armour piercing rounds. They developed this 75mm, ironically, from the 6-pounder. They bored out the barrels because the base of the 6-pounder and the 75mm is exactly the same. But obviously the shell was parallel on the, or near, more parallel on the 75mm than it was on the 6-pounder, and they opened the barrel up. They bored out the barrels to take the 75mm, or that's a crude way of describing it, but the 75mm was a development from the 6-pounder. So there you have it. But hang on a minute, what's this? We have an interloper. What is that? Well, it's a big one. Hang on a minute. That's a German 88mm anti-aircraft round. How did that get in here? Well, let's just say I couldn't resist it. But unfortunately, this one is for sale because it doesn't match all my others. But this one is from, I don't know if you can make this one out. It's from June 1944. It's the brass case, which is very unusual, very rare. That shows it's from early on. They stopped using brass in 1941 because they'd run out. They used steel cases after that. So they would reuse as many of the brass cases as they could. This brass case is actually dated 1938. So they would have reused it. Brass is more malleable than steel, so they would reuse them as much as they could. But unfortunately, this is a bit big, and it dwarfs the others. So that one's up for sale. But it's a beauty. So there you have it. All the British ones, all the way through the war, and ending with a 17-pounder. Well, thanks for watching.